Now, this is probably going to be a short video because I think my battery is getting ready to die. But I'm Queen Offset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, drop us a positive comment, and check out underneath this video for any information that you might want, including my personal social media information. So listen, this is what people said to me. I've been talking to a lot of couples for the past years. I've been doing readings on couples for a long time, at least 10 years now. And one of the things I wanted to say to you guys, those of you that are in a relationship, if your relationship is not going the way that you want it to go, you do not have to stay in the relationship as it is. If your wife is, not being faithful, if your husband is not being affectionate or understanding, if something is going on in your relationship that you don't like, you don't have to stay in the relationship as it is. So many couples come to me and they're in really bad relationships. They're really sad. Some of them are really sad. It breaks my heart. And I say to them, why don't you go to therapy? Why don't you get some self-help books? Why don't you do something is the bottom line. And they'll look at me like, yeah, we could do that. It's like very nonchalant. And so many of them stay in these bad relationships, miserable for years and years and years, and never work on it. And I just wanted to give this short video to tell you guys that if you're in a bad relationship, it doesn't mean you have to leave the person. It doesn't mean you have to diss them and go off to, Timbuktu. You can work on the relationship. Relationships are just like, imagine getting sick. Okay, if you find out something's wrong with your body and it's hurting or it's acting up or whatever the case is, most people will go to the doctor. They will at least find out what's wrong and maybe if there's a treatment or some medicine for it. But when a relationship is sick or broken or struggling, a lot of people will do nothing. Instead of seeing a professional, which would be the common sense thing to do, or if they can't afford a professional, because that could be expensive, finding an alternative. There's all kind of books. Just the other day, I bought a book. Let me see if I can see it from here. It's called Love More, Fight Less. Okay? And I bought this book because one of the couples that I work with is having some communication problems. So I'm like, well, let's get a workbook and let's work on it. And that's what I'm talking about. If there's something going on, that book cost me like, what, 17 bucks? So maybe you can't afford therapy, but maybe you can afford a $17 book from Amazon where you and your husband or wife, girlfriend, boyfriend sit down and do the exercises together and take it seriously and talk about changing your relationship. But instead of doing this kind of thing, what I'm seeing is behaviors that make things worse. They'll go cheat. That's the biggest one. I'm like, you got a bad relationship and you went and cheated, like for real. That's like the biggest one. They go cheat or they go and engage in behaviors such as alcohol, drugs, gambling. They'll just detach from their partner, living in the same house, but they're like strangers, or they'll detach in such a way where they're like in the garage tinkering with the car and the wife is in the kitchen doing God knows what or dealing with the kids, and they have no intimacy, no time together. They don't talk much to each other, just basic, oh, you gonna get the Christmas tree? Yes, in the basement. All right, I'm gonna bring up the ornaments. All right, see you tomorrow. Like just real dry, mundane kind of energy. Instead of working on the relationship, instead of getting more intimacy, instead of, doing something to bring the spark back, instead of doing something to foster forgiveness. I don't understand this. I understand that people have to be ready. I understand that money sometimes is a consideration, but I just feel like more people give up on their relationship, or they just stay in it as it is, miserable. And I don't think either one of them has to be the answer, especially not giving up. Some relationships you have to give up on because the other person is not trying, or because it's toxic or hurtful to you or abusive towards you. Sometimes you do just have to give up. But I see more people giving up than have to give up. I was listening to this old couple talk. They were like in their 80s, and somebody was asking them about their relationship. And this was on social media. And the couple said that they come from a time where you don't throw things away. You know, back in the old days, you don't throw things away. You fix them. And that is true, because when I was younger, my mom didn't throw anything away. She kept everything. My dad would keep scraps and make things out of them. You did. You kept everything. You fixed things. You made things. You didn't always buy things or, you know, that kind of thing. And in the relationship, if your relationship was broken, in a lot of cases, you know, some people always tell me a lot of people were stuck together. So back in the old days, they might not have had the financial resources to break up, for example. Or for women back in the day, and if, you know, way back in the day in the 50s or whatever, it might not be easy to get a job if you're divorced or have children and no husband. You know, at certain time periods, women could not have custody of their kids. They couldn't get their own inheritance. They couldn't even own property. So at certain times, people are like, well, it definitely made sense to just do that. But it's not like that anymore. So it doesn't make sense in this time period not to work on a relationship. You don't have to just give it up. You know, you don't have to just walk away from it, and you don't have to be miserable for the next 40 years either. You can actually work on it. And I think a lot of couples just don't believe it'll get better, but it can. It can get better. Lots of couples I know have gone to retreats, therapy, couples therapy, and they've made it. Not all of them. Some of them realize through the retreat or through the therapy that they don't belong together. And other couples realize, well, maybe if I tweak something here or tweak something there, you know, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my attitude. Maybe I'm depressed and I'm not showing up in a relationship. So some of the other couples are like, oh, okay, well, this can be worked out. You know, sometimes a couple finds out it's something small. Like, for example, one couple that I talked to, the problem is their love language. The husband doesn't speak her love language. She's somebody who really wants acts of service. She wants him to do nice things for her, and not major things, small things like, you know, put the trash out without being asked about it. You know, gas up her car after you drove it. You know, she wants small acts of service. Surprise her at lunchtime by bringing her her favorite sandwich. You know, she wants small things like that, but he's not that kind of person. His love language is gifts and touch. So he's always touching her, grabbing her, trying to be intimate with her, which turns her off because you haven't even done any acts of service for me. I couldn't even get you to change the roll of toilet paper that you used this morning, and now you want me to be intimate with you? Like, he doesn't understand how his behavior is discouraging her. It's drying her up. Okay? His lack of acts of service dries her up. So when he tries to come get sex from her, she's like, I don't even want to see you right now. You know? So my thing to him was, well, start speaking her love language, dummy. Like, you know what it is, and you know that you're not speaking it. Start speaking her love language. Do little things that you know she likes or will like, or, you know, things like that, you know? And then she'll be more intimate with you because she'll be feeling you. A woman, and sometimes men too, but I know women for a fact, we have a really hard time being intimate with somebody we're not feeling, unless it's for money or, you know, it's our job, you know, in that case, you know, if you work in Vegas or something like that. But most women have a hard time being intimate with you if we're not feeling you. Even if you're not the richest, most handsome, perfect person in the world, if you're my person and I'm feeling you, that woman's going to want to be touched by you. She's going to want to be cuddled and held by you. She's going to want the intimacy. Don't nobody want intimacy with nobody that they're not feeling. And so he doesn't understand that. So a lot of times in relationships, it's not even a big deal what needs to change. The other person just has to say, you know what, this is a problem. it's not, like in his case, it's not his thing. He doesn't really need acts of service. He's pretty independent, but that's what turns her on. So give her her love language, and then she'll feel inclined to give you yours. Why am I going to give you yours and you're not giving me mine? You know? So I just wanted to put that out there, that if you're in a relationship, don't give up on your relationship. Really tap into that energy and try. All right, guys, the camera is dying, so I'm not going to be able to say anything else. But you come back soon, because I do have a lot more to say. See you later.